Hello again, everyone. Today I'm going to be doing a little video talking about the rogue. Last time I covered weapons, time for the fighter. So I figure I'll keep martial classes going for a little bit. Alright. So the rogue is a D8 hit die. So you roll a D8, 8 hit points at level 1. The big differences between the rogue and the fighter, I guess, to start with, is going to be class skills. That's the first thing you want to look at. So the rogue is proficient with acrobatics, appraise, bluff, climb, craft, diplomacy, disable device, disguise, escape artist, intimidate, knowledge dungeoneering, knowledge local, linguistics, perception, perform, profession, sense motive, sleight of hand, stealth, swim, and use magic device. On top of that, the rogue also gets 8 plus their int modifier for skill ranks per level. Now, basically what this means is, in comparison to the fighter, who only gets 2 plus his int, the rogue's going to have a bigger focus on doing other things for the party that's not necessarily going to be purely combat based. But as the name rogue implies, it's going to be your stealth character. You're going to be getting in, picklocking doors, hiding around, eavesdropping. But overall, this character can do so much more. So let's look at like the combat. It's a 3/4 BAB. So that means it's going to start off with 0 at level 1. Then it's going to go up one at a time until you hit level 4. Then 0 again, up until level 9, or sorry, level 8, 0 again. So essentially, starting with 0, go 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. That's how it's going to progress. What this means in the grand scheme of things, it's going to have a lower chance to hit than a fighter would, and less iterative attacks. It's one thing I don't think I've talked about yet is how BAB really works in the whole scheme. Basically, once you hit 6 BAB, you get a second one that starts off as a +1, which gives you a second attack. If you're dual wielding, it'll be your third and fourth. But it keeps going on and on. So by the time you hit 11, you have 3. Now, a rogue, since it's 3/4, is going to max out at 15, 10, 5, where a fighter will max out at 20, 15, 10, 5. So it's going to have less attacks than a fighter, and it's going to get them slower, where a fighter will pick them up a lot quicker. Rogues are good at reflex saves, which is once again dodging area of effects, dodging traps. But here's where the rogue has something that's pretty neat. They have an ability called sneak attack. Anytime that the enemy is flat-footed or unaware of their presence, they do an additional 1d6 damage. Now this goes up every odd level until you hit 10d6. The other criteria for it, if you're flanking someone, you can sneak attack them as well. If you're flanking, you actually get all your attacks as sneak attacks. So let's say a fighter's in front of an enemy and you go up behind them and you make a 4-round attack. You get to do an additional 1d6 with every hit at level 1, which is only going to be 1 to 2 attacks, but I mean, eventually it's a lot of attacks, a lot of extra damage. Some enemies are immune to sneak attack. Sneak attack is called precision damage. Even if you critically strike them, it doesn't get multiplied. The other thing that they get at level 1 is trap finding. Basically, you get half of your level as a bonus perception to locate traps, and half your level to disabled device to, like, for instance, disabled device can be picking a lock, it can be disarming a trap, and also one thing that's unique is a rogue can use disabled device to disarm magical traps. So rounding down, of course, so level 1 you get +1, level 2 +1, level 3 still +1. Basically it's level 4, and every even level afterwards it's going to go up by 1. At level 2 they gain an ability called Evasion. Basically, when you make a successful reflex save, and the attack normally does half damage, if you make it, you will take no damage. So like a fireball. They throw a fireball at you, let's just give it a number, a 16. And you roll a 17. The fireball does 30 damage. Normally you would take 15, but your rogue will take none whatsoever. A couple other classes do get this as well, but rogues get it the earliest, I do believe. Then also at level 2 you get rogue talents starting. Now rogue talents give you a lot of cool things. One of the things you can do with it, you can always trade it for a combat feat, but I kind of feel like that's a waste, because you're never going to be as good as a fighter in like frontal combat, so why not grab something unique, such as bleeding attack. When you sneak attack a target, it takes 1 bleed damage for each sneak attack dice you roll. So it starts off small, but eventually goes up. Now to stop the bleeding, they need to do a DC 15 heal check. Or any cure spell will also stop the bleeding. Fast stealth lets you stealth at full speed, which is something that's kind of important to note. When you normally do a stealth, you have to move at half your movement. So if you have a movement speed of 30, you can only move 15 feet per round. If you do a double move, you can move 30, but other people are going to be moving at about 60, some less, some more. But being able to move full speed is really nice. Finesse Rogue gives you weapon finesse. Weapon finesse, basically what this does, as long as you're wielding a light weapon, or any of the weapons with the finesse are able to be finessable, such as a rapier, elven curved sword, elven branch spear, it will let you use your dexterity to hit instead of your strength. So normally a fighter would have to, when he rolled to hit, it'd be his strength plus his BAB. For rogue, it's gonna be, if you grab that, it's gonna be your dexterity plus your BAB. Still gonna be strength to do damage though. But with the sneak attack dice, you don't necessarily need a lot of strength to do a lot of damage. Instead, you need to focus on positioning, getting your character what it needs to be. There's Ledge Walker, lets you move along narrow surfaces at full speed. Normally you'd have to move half speed. Anything that's difficult terrain, slippery slopes, etc. Minor Magic lets you cast a 0 level spell from the wizard spell list. You can select it 3 times, or the spell can be cast 3 times a day. Then Major Magic lets you cast first level spells. The reason why this might be kind of cool to grab is even though 0 level and first level spells don't provide a whole lot of strength, especially the later you get into the game, some of them can give you a pretty huge bonus. I believe Vanish might be a first or second level spell, but it would, I know there's a lot of different ways, like spells, any spell that requires an attack roll, as long as you're within 30 feet, you can sneak attack with that as well. And then there are also buff spells. They're not very strong at first level, but any buff is still a buff. Other things you can get: quick disable, half the amount of time to disable a device, a minimum of 1 round. One thing that about disabling devices, the more complex they are, the longer they take. Now, 1 round is 6 seconds. So something might take you half a minute to completely disarm. This will let you do it in half the time. Anyway, rogue talents, you get them every even level. And then starting at level 10, you start getting advanced rogue talents. A lot better. At 3rd level you get trap sense, you get +1 to find them, and it keeps going up progressively. Other than that, I guess I'll just give some tips I've used when playing a rogue. Typically, like I've said about the fighter, 2-weapon fighting is typically a drain on you. However, with a rogue where you can dump most of your points into dexterity, 2-weapon fighting's not that bad. Since most of the time you're going to want to be flanking, flanking gives you a bonus to hit, and since you're not doing like a whole lot of damage per hit, this will give you more attacks, more chances to hit, because maybe you roll poorly, and having extra attacks will give you a chance to hit anyway. And if you flank, like I said, where you'd normally attack twice with a 6 BAB, that'd just be, I think, 3 or 4d6 extra damage. Now if you can attack 4 times, that's a lot of dice, a lot of damage potential. Other ways you can build a rogue, you can always go with the buckler. You can build a ranged rogue. One thing I like to do, some people might disagree, but take skill focus stealth, gives you a +3 to stealth, and really up those numbers to the point where you can sneak around, no one notices you, and you always get the surprise round. Other things you might want to look into, Piranha Strike. It's a lot like Power Attack, but for dex based. And you can also gain, I believe, extra rogue talents if you really want to grab a bunch of those. But otherwise, building a rogue is really up to you. If your campaign is more social based, grab more social skills. If your campaign's heavily combat based, look into 2-weapon fighting. Kukris are one of my favorites. They have a large crit range, so I believe it's 18 to 20, so you got 3 numbers you can crit on. Eventually you can take improved crit, or you can try to get a keen weapon. Keen and improved crit doubles that range. So 18, 19, 20. There's 3 numbers. So grabbing that will give you another 3. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And overall, I mean, a crit is with a light weapon isn't going to be huge. you're going to be doing 1d4 damage. But there's also something else to look into as well. Unchained classes. Normally I wouldn't bring this up, but if your DM will allow it, always take Unchained Rogue. They get finesse training, which allows you to add your dexterity to damage and to hit. This will make your rogue a huge damage dealer overall. So now instead of just doing 1d4 damage, maybe plus 1, you're going to be looking at 1d4 plus 3, 1d4 plus 4. And it all really adds up really quickly. But overall, I think that's all I really want to say about the rogue class. Always, like I said, talk to your DM, look at the class, read through all the abilities, get a good grasp of what you're jumping into. Keep in mind, every class is going to play differently. If you try to play one class like another, you might find things don't work out so well. But anyway, have a good night. Now, see you next time.